Well, hello everybody, the History Guy here. I am taking a little bit of a diversion, as I sometimes do, from my traditional grand strategy or strategy type games. This is still a strategy game, but a little different genre. Sometimes when I'm not playing war games, I really like to get into things like city builders, tycoon management games, things like that. This kind of combines all of those things. This is a game that some of you may be familiar with. It's called Banished. A lot of fun and a lot of customization that can be done with this game because there are a ton of mods out there. I am using just a few of them. Basically what Banished is you're starting out, let's say you are the Pilgrims at Plymouth, you are the Colonists at Jamestown, you are settling a new world far from home, and you have to build your colony and make it work. It's a challenging game, but there's a lot of different ways to do well at it. So first of all, I want to show you just a few of the mods that I've actually enabled. These will make more sense once I've played the game if you're not familiar with it. But cheap tunnels. You can build tunnels, but traditionally you have to first have all the materials to make your tunnel, mostly stone. What cheap tunnels does is it allows you to use the material that you mine from making the tunnel to build the tunnel. And it just means the tunnel takes longer. Improved farming allows me to build farms, have a little more flexibility in how and where those farms can be built. And then some of the other things just allow me to do more with the resources. This one, increased resources combined. One of the things you find is that you cut down a tree and you don't get much wood from it. So this mod kind of rectifies that situation and allows you to get more from less. And then the big one really that makes the biggest difference in the game is the 1 year is 1 year mod. Basically in the vanilla version of the game, your colonists age basically I think 5 years over the span of one traditional year with the seasons. So this slows that down so that 4 seasons equals 1 year. So people live longer, but it also means it takes longer for them to get old enough to be able to actually, as the children are born, they don't become fruitful members of your society as quickly. So that does slow the game down in some ways, but we're going to go ahead for the sake of this and we're going to call it Plymouth Colony. Just because I had ancestors there, and I thought it'd be cool to do that. A lot of options here. We're just going to keep it at medium terrain size. The terrain's going to be valleys rather than mountains. We'll have mild climate. Disasters are on. Disasters are things like yellow fever epidemic breaks out. Things like that. Things can happen to your crops where they get a disease and you lose that crop. Things like that. So in starting conditions, we're actually going to go to medium with the starting conditions. On easy, you start the game with 6 families. A large amount of clothing, food, firewood, building materials, and tools are provided. Homes and storage areas have already been built. Seeds for fields and orchards are available, as well as a herd of livestock. Going on medium, we get 5 families instead of 6. We have clothing, food, firewood, tools, and construction materials. A storage barn is built. Some seeds for fields and orchards. Usually you get 2 types of crops and 1 type of orchard that you can build. Everything else that I get will have to be traded for once I build a trading post. And it's expensive to get new seeds for new things. So you really have to save up to be able to get those. Doesn't happen easily. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I hope you're up for the challenge along with me. I don't know how often I'll do videos in this series because I know it's a little bit different than what most of you are used to. But if I find that it's pretty popular and a lot of people are interested, then maybe I'll make them a little more often. So here's where we start. And as you can kind of back out and see all the area in which we could spread out. And there are, of course, limitations. I can see right off the bat there are not a lot of trees available, except up in this area, but one of the first things I can build is actually a forester who will not only cut down trees as they mature, but also plant new ones. But I'll talk through that as I go along. First things first, it is going to be spring, so I want to go ahead and bring up, there's some key toolbars, things that I want to have up right off the bat so that I can constantly kind of see what's going on. The event log's important. This is just kind of my overall, it tells me what I've got available to me in different areas, how many adults I have, how many students I have, and how many children I have. Tells me what season it is, what year it is. It's year 1 right now. Tells me the temperature. This is in Fahrenheit. You can also make it in Celsius if you prefer. This is the overall happiness of my citizens, the overall health of my citizens, and then these are just some of the key components that I have: food, firewood, logs, etc. So I've got my 5 families here. There's one more thing. There it is. And this tells me what everybody does. And I usually try to keep this one over here. It just makes it a little easier for me. So everybody starts as a laborer. There's only 10 adults that are able to work, so I'm somewhat limited there, and it's going to take a while to get more. And I got my Steam thing popping up here. But first things first, right off the bat, is I need to make sure that I'm going to have enough food to get through the winter. I've only got 1,800. That is not going to last. So a couple of different things I'm going to do. And you have all your build interfaces down here. Number 1, I need to start building houses right off the bat because I'm going to need the shelter. So I'll start with 2 of those, and immediately you can see that now I need 4 builders to complete those. I'm going to go with 4 to start here, but I'm probably not going to add more as I add other things. I'm definitely going to need some farmland. Farms, when the food is gathered, it goes to a storage barn. So I want to try and keep the farmland as close to the storage barn as I can. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 1 big field, which I think... Oh, that's an orchard. We don't want an orchard. We want a farm. Farms can be bigger than orchards. So I'm going to put my farm right up here, and I think 20 by 20? No, 16 by 20 is about as big as we can go. So now what's going to happen is my laborers and my builders are immediately going to clear these rocks. This will become stone that I can use to build other things. But then once this is completely cleared, I can assign some of my villagers as farmers to start planting crops so that we've got a harvest before the fall hits. I'm also going to start with fishing right away. That's a real easy and quick source for food. And it looks like we can do it right there. Also, paths. Paths allow the villagers to travel a little quicker. So I want to have some paths to get to the various places that I'll be building. Fishermen will also immediately drop off their food right there. And let's see. The other things that are important right off the bat, a woodcutter is who makes firewood. You're definitely going to want that. I've got 200 firewood to start, but as soon as I build a house, what happens is the family that moves in immediately starts grabbing supplies for themselves. They'll grab firewood, they'll grab food, which right now is just potatoes. They'll grab what they need, and that'll disappear really, really quickly. So by the time we get to fall, I need to start cutting firewood, but I don't need to do that right away. Let me go ahead and get... herbalists will come down the road. Herbalists will gather herbs, and they'll start creating medicine, which will help with the health of my citizens. There are primarily a couple of things that you need to keep a wooded area for. Number 1, of course, is my forester, and he's going to cut down but also plant new trees. So we want to keep an area for the forester to be able to do that where I'm not building and cutting down the trees. The herbalist will also gather in an area like that. He's not really going to gather in an open area. And the last thing for that is it's also an area for hunters and gatherers who are gathering food. So let me go to the food here. We've got gatherers. And a gatherer will gather berries, onions, just things that grow in the wild. So I want a gatherer there. I'm going to eventually want a forester there, and I'm also going to want an herbalist there, but those will come later. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just kind of talking through everything. I'm also going to need to build a bridge right here, somewhere where they can get across. All right, so that's going to kind of be enough for now. The only other thing I really need to work on is just giving them an order to start gathering some of these things. Some of these loose, easy-to-gather supplies. But they're going to gather up some of those just from building. So when they cut down trees to build the forester hut or the gatherer's hut, that'll create some resources for me. I'm going to go ahead and speed time up. You can go 1 time, 2 times, 5 times. I'm going to go 5 just for now. And we'll zoom in and look. Now, here's what's kind of cool. You can see them building, and you can see information about each one. So here we've got Adelia. She's a female. She's a builder. She's 17 years old. She's got fair clothing, an iron tool, and she is educated. Educated workers go faster when they work. I'm also going to kind of expand my stockpile right here. I can't do it in front of the house like that. There we go. So I'm going to build a stockpile right there that'll be right in the middle and easily accessible for everybody. And we're going to need a total of 5 houses right now. One for each of the 5 families that we have. And like I said, as soon as everything is cleared here, you'll see a stop sign or a question mark. It'll be a question mark as a stop sign. So that means I have to pick crops. So I can do corn or wheat. We're going to do corn. Obviously, that we need that for food. And now I need to assign farmers to that. And I'm going to go ahead and assign 4, which is basically everything I have left, because I'm going to need every bit of those for farming. So the next thing's going to happen is they're going to start working on my fishing dock. So I'm going to have a good supply of food to get me started and get me through that first winter. I'm going to go ahead also and get myself a woodcutter. And he can go over here. And the reason for that is the woodcutter isn't going and chopping down trees. He's grabbing wood off of our stockpile and splitting it into logs for firewood. So he just needs available logs, which right now I'm almost out of. You can see I'm down to 9. So right off the bat, I'm going to go over here. And I don't know how much of this you can see because I know my face is probably in here somewhere. I'll probably have to move that over for future videos on this series just so you'll be able to see the interface a little better. But right here, what I want to do is I want to go to remove resources. Actually, I'm going to say specifically harvest the trees. And I'm going to harvest the trees that are right here because I just want to clear that area anyway. So that'll get me plenty of logs to get through. And of course, things like if you get into early autumn and you haven't harvested your crops yet and you get an early frost and it snows, sometimes that can damage the harvest you have available. You can see the yield right here. If I were to tell them to start harvesting right now, they wouldn't be able to. But once they get to a certain yield, they can start harvesting if I'm desperately in need for food. But typically food hasn't been an issue for me in this game. I usually have plenty of it. It's getting enough workers because my folks aren't aging, and you don't get like a rapid influx of more colonists who come and arrive and join your area. You're basically just doing this with who you have. So the only way you gain new adults is by making them yourself. And with me doing the 1 year to 1 year thing, it's going to take a while for that to happen. These 7 children will eventually grow into adults. So I got one more house that's being built. I got to assign a fisherman. So I'm going to go ahead and take away one of these builders. I'm going to make a fisherman. At least have one going. These people are telling me they don't have a house yet. It's late spring, so it's not a huge concern yet. I just want to make sure they've got that house by winter. And right here you can see we're building the gatherer's hut. And I want to go ahead and put a path from the bridge out to where the gatherer's hut is. And eventually the thing we'll do is once I've got everything built I need to, I'm going to clear all the stone out of this area. Because that stone's taking up space that could be used to plant more trees when I have a forester. So we're getting that last house built. You can see my reserve of logs is still very low. In fact, I'm out of logs right now. But once my builders complete some other things, and if they have nothing else to do, they'll start harvesting these trees. Alright, everybody's got a house now, all 5 families. So now these folks are going to probably cross over. You can see them taking their fish. You can see these trees are marked for destruction. They're going to be taken down. There's our fisherman going at it. His name is Weave. Kind of an interesting name, Weave. Also 17 years old. You can always see what their inventory is. You can follow those people if you want and kind of see what they're up to. Give you a little bit of an indication of how your colony's built and whether or not you need to make some changes to make things easier for them. So we're out of logs right now is the main thing that's holding us back from finishing this gatherer's hut. So hopefully these folks will start cutting down these trees soon. Yeah, it looks like they're doing that. So we can see in our barn, which is 10% full, you can see already all the potato that I brought is almost gone. I'm down to 167 food. So as you can see, you can't get away with the first year just trying to live off of what you brought with you, because by summer it's gone already. Now this corn harvest is at 75% yield. That's going to keep going up. Once it gets to fall, even if it's not completely at 100%, they're going to start harvesting that corn so that we have plenty in our barns to get through the season. The woodcutter is going to be important. Got to have firewood, which you can see we're almost out of as well. And you can look at any one of these houses and see what their inventory is. Right here we've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old who are husband and wife, apparently. Kevin's and Suzetta. And they've just got 25 firewood and 50 potato, which is not much at all. It's not going to last them very long. Alright, our gatherer's hut's complete. So we can go ahead and at least assign one gatherer. And that'll be another way of getting food. It's just they've got a long way to go from the gatherer's hut over to where they deposit it in the barn. And there's our woodcutter. We definitely want to get our woodcutter to work. Now here's something that I've found that's really helpful with this game, is that you will get to the place where, especially with something like the woodcutter, if I've got enough logs for him, he will quickly build up a nice huge stockpile of wood to where I'm really wasting my time to have him continue cutting firewood. When that happens, I'll just remove him from the assignment of being a woodcutter and assign him to doing something else to make him more productive. So a big part of this game is managing your tribe and your settlement, and what your people are doing to make sure that you've got them doing the most effective task that's going to help you to grow. So you can keep all these numbers up and gather whatever it is that you need at any given time. Right now I'm pretty much low on everything, so I'm going to have I've got 3 laborers free. Eventually I want to get a forester going, but for the time being what I want to do is just gather up some resources. So I'm just going to tell them to gather any of the resources that are in this area where I'm kind of building my colony. And that'll give me a nice stockpile of resources. Then I can get back to building some of the buildings that I need, like a forester's hut. Eventually I'm going to need a blacksmith, because you can see right here, tools. I have 29 tools. Those will go quickly. Pretty much every job requires tools, and your blacksmith is the person that does that, and he uses iron to do that. Some iron you'll find out in the open, like right here, there's some iron. Obviously stone and wood, but eventually you've got to build mines. You've got to build a stone quarry to start mining some of those resources. And then, of course, the other thing I'll need to do is build a trading post over here that will allow me to trade some of my excess resources for things that I don't have. New seeds, livestock, for example. I'm going to need to build a hunter also. I think we have enough resources now that I can kind of go for that. Because hunters will not only get you venison for food, they also get you leather that can be used to turn into clothing. So I'll just assign one builder to that task right now. You can see we're harvesting our corn for the first time. It is autumn of year 1. And that food number is going to start going up as they bring in the harvest. Got a nice amount of corn. We've got 13 hide coats left, so I'm definitely going to have to start hunting before long so I can start building some of those. Not a lot of fish, so I'm probably going to need some more fishermen at some point. And you can see as quickly as it goes in, it's going to be coming back out, because people are going to come in, they're going to grab that stuff, and they're going to throw it into their inventory in their own homes. Like these people, man, they're just hogging it. They've got onions, mushrooms. Those come from gatherers. They got corn, fish, potatoes. A nice little variety of things. I'm keeping one eye on my stored firewood. Once that number gets nice and high and we get through the winter, I can probably assign my woodcutter to something else. Builder hasn't really gotten started yet. I think all my builders are probably busy harvesting all this stuff that I've told them to go after. Oh, we got a kid right here, it looks like. 5 years old. Now, eventually I'm also going to want a school, but I can't waste people on schooling right now. I'm too busy with building and getting my colony set up. So we're into winter now. Well, it's late autumn, but that's winter where I live, and apparently it is there too. So I'm starting to build up a little bit of a log reserve now. Up to 175. You'll find that your craftsmen, your tool makers, your woodcutter, things like that, they'll build it up pretty fast. So really, honestly, a couple of seasons and my woodcutter is going to build up so much wood that I can take a break from woodcutting. And our first child is born. 2 children are born. So we know what they were up to as soon as we got here. Glorin and Elena have been our first 2 children to be born. Now you can build a boarding house, which is a nice big area that multiple families can live in. But if I understand things correctly, they will not produce children if you do that, for obvious reasons. No privacy. So we're up to 113 stone now, 199 stored logs. You can see the firewood number went back down because we're getting into winter now. All right, we're still not building the hunting cabin. I don't think that's going to happen until all of this stuff has been cleared out. Now I can change that. I can go in and cancel those orders if I want to. And you can see there are a lot of people working on this stuff, even though I've only got 2 laborers and 1 builder. I think, if I understand right, and if somebody's more familiar with the game than I am, can correct me on this if I'm wrong. Your farmers, for example, I've got 4 farmers. Obviously, there's no farm work to be done. When there's no work to be done in their field, they will immediately default to laborers. And in this case, help clear out the areas that need to be cleared out. So you don't have to go in and manage that, which is nice. Another child born, Loria. We have all these. I don't know. Glorin might be a man, boy. I don't know, but it seems like we have a lot of girls being born. And another child, Denime. These all sound like girl names. So in about 6 years, those children will either be old enough to attend school if I've built one, and I imagine by year 6 I'll have a school. Or they can become laborers. Child labor. There are no child labor laws in this game. And obviously, historically speaking, children worked during this time. I don't think I have anything else set up over here to be built. Just the hunting cabin. All right, I'm going to speed up time a little bit. We're going to go to 10 times now. One other thing that I definitely want to build. Okay, Evan has become an adult and is working as a laborer, so I've got my first new adult. I've got 11 now and 10 children. Another thing, unfortunately, I'm going to pause here for a second. Well, no, I don't have to pause. That you definitely have to plan for is you got to build a cemetery. And the reason being that people die and their happiness suffers if you haven't built a cemetery for them to go and mourn. So we'll put the cemetery right here. That'll be enough to get us started. I believe with the mod that I'm using, the 1 year to 1 year mod, tombstones last about 100 years, and then that space is probably freed up for you to put new burials. Because cemeteries have a limited number of burials, obviously. Another child born, Lark. We're still not working on our hunting cabin. You can see the food is down to 712. That's not a problem. Obviously, we've got more mouths to feed. I want to pause for a second here because my woodcutter's up to 477 stored firewood. I don't think I need that much. If it starts getting low, I'll get a notification and I can reassign the woodcutter. And the woodcutter gets going fairly quickly with that. So I'm going to shut down the woodcutting for now. And we'll assign a couple new builders. We're still not working on the hunting cabin. Now, if I want to, I can, for example, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to tell them don't work on the cemetery yet. We're still gathering up the materials I assigned. Plenty of stone now. I'm up to 423 stone, 341 logs. I think that'll get me by for a little while. So I'm going to cancel the further removal of any of those supplies so these folks can get working on other things. Now they'll get started working on this hunting cabin. That'll get me some more food. I'm down to just 8 stored clothes, so I'm desperately going to need some more clothing soon. And I'm going to need an herbalist as well to start getting some medicine. You can see I'm already down to 4 hearts out of 5 on the average health of my citizens. So we'll build the herbalist right there. Hunting cabin's almost done. And then we also have the cemetery. Actually, I'll wait. Continue to wait until these 2 things are done. These are more important. Alright, so all the materials are there. Now they've just got to do the 45 builds. So far so good. We're going to be good on food for a while, I think, until some more people are built or are born. We're in late summer, and we already had hit 100% yield, so they're starting to harvest already. Eventually, I'll build an orchard here as well. But I got to get the other things built that I'm already working on first. Hunting cabin's done. We'll get at least 1 hunter going. Eventually, we'll assign more. But I need to get an herbalist as well. I probably should go ahead and put a stockpile there. Just so they're not carrying everything so far. Plenty of firewood available. Coal, eventually I'll need, but I don't right now. I definitely got to get some medicine going. And tools. So as soon as I'm done building this herbalist, I'll get the cemetery built. I'm going to have to go with building a tailor and a blacksmith, which obviously is going to stretch me really thin because I've only got so many adults. I've got 12 adults now because Harvest just became an adult. But I'm going to be stretched kind of thin, so people are going to be bouncing between jobs. When I don't need firewood, the woodcutter might go over and start working as an herbalist. You know, just the way it's got to go, at least early on until I get enough people to do everything. And it's winter of year 2. And I actually closed out of my thing. I do that from time to time. Things are going really well so far, I think. Early on, it is pretty smooth, but then you start running into a lot of problems as you're managing everything. So it's going pretty well right now. So we've got our first herbalist, and that person's going to start gathering up some needed resources. We're going to eventually clear the stone out of here once I have everybody I need. Looks like the cemetery is done. It's only got room for 12 graves, but that should last us a little while. Next step. Don't need a market yet, and we're not at the place where I need to worry about trading yet. What we do need is a blacksmith. No, you know what? We need a tailor worse than we need a blacksmith. So I'm going to put these folks in town here. My music has stopped. So this is happening pretty fast. It's close into town, so they're just bringing materials from right here at the stockpile right across. So it's pretty easy. Eventually I'm going to tear that stockpile down and just use this one here in the center. Alright, there is my tailor. Now your tailor has some options. You can make a hide coat a wool coat, a warm coat, which is leather and wool. Obviously, leather is the only resource I have available to myself right now, so that's what we have to make. So we'll stockpile some of those, and then I'll be able to use that person doing something else for a while. Food's doing well. We got through the winter and still have 1,500 food available because I'm getting it from a lot of different resources. I've got venison that's going to start coming in. Gatherers are getting berries and onions and mushrooms. I've got fishermen. I've got corn. Eventually I'll plant some orchards, and I'll get whatever kind of food I have available to me through my orchard. But right now, next step is a blacksmith. And I'm going to put him right here behind the tailor. And then we'll just make a nice little path that'll come around this way. So 22 people in my colony. We'll probably wrap up this episode here in a couple of minutes. We'll get at least into the fall of year 3. Because we'll basically have everything I need. The next thing I'm going to want to build is a forester. A forester who will plant trees but also consistently be cutting them down, providing me a nice resource of future wood without having to venture out really far to get it. So there's my blacksmith. And again, blacksmiths work pretty fast. So I'll build up tools really quickly. And once I get up to like 100 tools or so, or even 50, I can start working on something else. You can see my coats are already up to 20 again. We'll get that up to 30 or 40, and then, well, I guess we're done now because our tailor's out of leather. So we can turn the tailor off from that. We're going to put the tailor over on hunting to gather up some more leather, some more venison. And basically at this point I have everything built that I need, except for the forester. So just so my people have something to do, I'm going to start having them remove all the stone that's in my forest that I'm eventually going to use to cut down trees and replant them. You always want to have something for your people to do when they're not busy with other stuff. Eventually I'll build another house. You can see the health has gone back up now that we're gathering medicine. I'm up to 19 medicine already. So that brought the health back up. Eventually you can also build a hospital where people, if I have yellow fever break out, they can go and be treated for that. Last time I had a yellow fever outbreak, I actually survived without losing a single person. So we're getting into early autumn, still got 1,000 food, and we're just now starting to harvest the crop of corn. So things are good there. And once again, I shut off one of my things here. So we've had some more children born. Another one has grown to be an adult, so we're up to 24 now. 13 adults, 11 children. Plenty of stone. Decent amount of iron. That'll last me a little while. You can see my tools are back up to 54 now. Those eventually become something that's a nice commodity to trade because they're valuable. Some things aren't worth much, like food, for example. Alright, we're going to go ahead and build this forester. Right here. So the forester's lodge will go right here. All of these folks, the gatherers, the hunter, the herbalist, and the forester, they require an area that you don't clear. Other than of stone and maybe iron. Looks like there's some iron down here. And I think I'll clear that as well. Got to assign a couple builders. So let's clear that iron out. That gives more room for the forester to make new trees. Alright, we're into late autumn. We're about to be winter of year 3. Nice stockpile of food, nice stockpile of firewood still. Things are looking good. We'll get through the winter and then we'll call it a day for this first episode. I think that's a lot. First 3 years, things are off to a good start. Honestly, not feeling too worried about anything right now. We'll get that forester lodge completed. Let me make sure my path is going all the way through. I think I have a path there already. I just can't see it because of the snow. It's nice to have that stockpile right there. So you can see already there's a lot of room to plant new trees for my forester, and he'll get quickly on that. I'm up to 51 medicine. I'm actually going to take the herbalist off for a little while. Same with the blacksmith, at least for the time being. So let's go ahead and assign 2 foresters so we can start planting new trees. And let's see what we have here. Oh, our log limit is 200. We need to raise that up so that they'll continue to cut down trees up to maybe 600. And as these folks are getting older, I'm probably going to need another home as well. We're going to make a stone house this time. Alright, it's early spring of 4. I'm going to wrap it up right there. So as always, if you're new to my channel, I always say the same thing at the end. I welcome your comments, your questions, your observations, your criticisms. If you think I'm really royally screwing up, as I sometimes do in games, please let me know. If you have suggestions or you just want me to talk about something in the game as you're getting more familiar with it, let me know those things as well. Use the comment section below. If you like this and you want to see more of this game and this series, please hit that thumbs up. That lets me know that people like what they see and they want to see more of it. So as always, I will say this every single time to the end of time as long as I'm making these videos. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to stop by my channel. I hope you like what you see. Comments are welcome. Down below in the description, you will see my contact info. You can follow me on Twitter, and basically that's just for updates on when games get posted. You can email me if you have questions that you don't want to post publicly, and I appreciate all of those things. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.